Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Aliens in awe during their first human warship encounter. The observation deck of the Ralorian diplomatic vessel hummed with quiet energy as Commander Taho Kim studied the data readings. His vessel hung in the darkness of space, just beyond the orbit of the fourth planet in this unremarkable system. The Rorian Federation, an alliance of 3 technologically advanced species, had dispatched his team after detecting unusual energy signatures from this region. "Analysis complete, Commander," reported Science Officer Ju, her 6-fingered hands dancing across the console. The tall, blue-skinned alien's head tendrils twitched with excitement. "The species calls themselves humans. Their technology appears primitive." Taho nodded, his dark eyes fixed on the approaching vessel. It was small, utilitarian, with none of the elegant curves characteristic of Ralorian design. Yet something about it made him uneasy. "Primitive, perhaps," he murmured, "but look at their power distribution. It's inefficient but innovative." First Officer Minhuk joined them, his scaled skin reflecting the blue light of the displays. "They've responded to our communication. They're sending a delegation." 3 days later, Taho found himself sharing a meal with Captain Gina Park of the Earth Diplomatic Corps. She was shorter than him, with intelligent eyes that missed nothing. "Your faster-than-light technology is remarkable," she said, sampling the synthesized Earth cuisine the Ralorans had prepared. "Different from our approach entirely." "And what approach would that be?" asked Minhuk, trying to hide his dismissive tone. Gina smiled. "We're still testing, but you'll see soon enough." Taho watched as Gina took another bite of the food. Something about her confidence troubled him. The Ralorian database classified humans as a Level 3 species, capable of interplanetary travel but centuries away from true interstellar capability. Yet here they were, already sending ships to nearby star systems. "Your colony on Mars is quite impressive," Taho offered. "We did not expect a species so young to expand so quickly." Gina nodded. "Necessity drives innovation, Commander. Earth became crowded. We needed room to grow." Minu leaned forward. "Our records show your first space flight was less than 200 years ago. Most species take twice that time to establish permanent off-world colonies." "We're impatient," Gina replied with a small laugh. "It's both our best and worst quality." The meal continued with polite conversation, but Taho noticed how Gina skillfully avoided sharing details about human military capability. Each time Minhuk probed, she redirected the conversation to cultural exchange or scientific cooperation. After the meal, Taho walked Gina to the shuttle bay. They paused at the large viewport, Earth visible as a blue-green jewel in the distance. "You've been watching us for some time, haven't you?" Gina asked suddenly. Taho tried not to show his surprise. "What makes you say that?" "You know too much about us. Our development timeline, our colonies. Yet we only detected your presence 3 weeks ago." Taho hesitated, then decided honesty might be best. "Yes, the Federation monitors developing spacefaring species for their protection and ours." "And what have you concluded about humans?" "That you are," Taho searched for the right word, "unexpected." Gina smiled. "We get that a lot." 2 weeks later, the Ralorian diplomatic team was invited to Earth. Their shuttle descended through fluffy white clouds toward a sprawling city beside an ocean. Ju pressed her face against the viewport, her tendrils quivering with excitement. "So much water," she whispered, "and they build right next to it." Taho understood her amazement. Ralorian worlds were mostly desert, water carefully managed and recycled. Here, humans used it for recreation, for beauty. Their shuttle landed at a military base outside the city. Taho was surprised. He had expected a civilian reception center. As they disembarked, he noticed the heightened security. Soldiers stood at attention, their weapons visible but not aimed. Gina greeted them, now wearing a formal military uniform adorned with medals and insignia. "Welcome to San Diego, Earth's Pacific Fleet headquarters." "Fleet?" Minia questioned. "Our scan showed only 16 space-capable military vessels in your system." Yes, Gina agreed. That's correct. She led them to a large building overlooking a harbor. Below, massive gray vessels floated on the water, some as long as their diplomatic ship. Ocean vessels, Tejo remarked. Interesting that you maintain them in the space age. We have many military traditions, Gina explained. Some practical, some ceremonial. Inside, they were shown to a conference room where several high-ranking officers waited. Admiral Dongwin, a stern-faced man with silver hair, stood to greet them. The Federation Council sends its regards, Tahoe said formally. We hope this marks the beginning of peaceful relations between our peoples. Peace is always preferred, Admiral Dongwin replied, but peace requires understanding. The meeting that followed was direct. The humans wanted to know about threats in nearby space. They asked detailed questions about weapons capabilities, defense systems, and territorial disputes. Tahoe answered carefully, sharing only information that was common knowledge. The Esthurian Empire is perhaps the greatest concern in this sector, he explained. They've expanded aggressively over the last century. Expanded how? Asked a young officer named Shanho. They conquer, Miniuk said bluntly. They take worlds they want and eliminate resistance. And the Federation's response? Gina asked. Tahoe shifted uncomfortably. We maintain strong defensive positions around our core worlds. The Federation is not an aggressive power. Meaning you let them take what they want, so long as it's not yours, observed Admiral Dongwin. The room fell silent. Tahoe had no good answer later. As the Rallorans were shown to their quarters, Ju pulled Tahoe aside. They're preparing for war, she whispered. Did you notice their production facilities? They're building ships, many ships. Impossible, Tahoe replied. Their technology isn't advanced enough. Maybe not by our standards, Ju said, but they're doing it anyway. That night, Tahoe couldn't sleep. He stood at the window of his room, watching Earth's single moon rise over the ocean. His communication device chimed, a priority message from the Federation Council. New energy signatures detected, the message read. Human activity in the asteroid belt has increased 5-fold. Large-scale mining operations underway. Request assessment of military potential. Tahoe sighed. He'd already submitted his preliminary report, but the council was growing concerned. Humans moved too quickly, adapted too readily. They didn't follow the normal development patterns. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Gina stood outside, holding a data pad. Sorry to disturb you so late, she said, but there's something you should see. She handed him the pad. On it was a star chart showing a system near the edge of human space. A flashing red marker indicated unusual activity. Our outpost detected unknown ships entering the system yesterday, Gina explained. We believe they're Esthurian scouts. Tahoe felt a chill. That's impossible. The Scytherans are still at least 12 light years from your territory. Apparently not, Gina replied grimly. We need to know everything about them, Commander, not the sanitized diplomatic version. Everything. Tahoe looked from the pad to Gina's determined face. In that moment, he understood why the Federation Council was concerned. Humans didn't respond to threats with fear. They prepared, they built, they armed themselves. The Scytherans are more advanced than you, he said finally. Their weapons technology surpasses even the Federation's in some areas. Gina nodded. Then we'd better get to work, hadn't we? The Scytherans have crossed the Disong Nebula, announced Admiral Sunmu, his hologram flickering above the war table. 3 colony worlds are now under direct threat. 6 months had passed since first contact, and the diplomatic mission had evolved into something more complex. The Rallorian High Council had been monitoring the expansion of the Scytheran Empire with growing concern. And the humans? Asked Councillor Yuno, the eldest of the Rallorian representatives. Directly in the Scytheran's path, Sunmu confirmed. They've requested our assistance. Absurd, Yunho dismissed. Their technology is centuries behind ours, and even we cannot stand against the Scytherans in open warfare. Tejo, now stationed permanently in human space as an official liaison, attended the council meeting remotely. With respect, the humans are adaptable. Since our arrival, they've developed technology at an alarming rate. Not alarming enough, Yuno replied. Recommend they surrender outlying territories to preserve their home world. Later that week, Tahoe sat in a secure facility beneath Earth's ancient capital. Across from him, Defense Minister Doyen studied a classified report. The Ralorian Federation won't help us, Diane asked, though it wasn't really a question. They believe resistance is futile, Tahoe admitted. They don't know. Oh, we've been watching your orbital construction projects. Du Yian's eyes narrowed. And what do you think you've seen? Something impossible, Tahoe replied honestly. Defense Minister Diane closed the classified report and leaned back in his chair. The underground facility hummed with activity. Through the glass walls, Tahoe could see dozens of humans working at computer stations, monitoring screens filled with star charts and ship movements. Show me what you know, Diane said. He pressed a button and the windows turned opaque, ensuring privacy. Tahoe hesitated. Sharing Federation intelligence with humans violated protocol, but after 6 months living among them, watching their determined preparations, he developed an unusual feeling: respect. The Scythian fleet includes 7 dreadnoughts, each capable of destroying a planet's entire defense system within hours, Tahoe explained. They've conquered 11 worlds in the past 3 decades. No species has successfully repelled them. Doan nodded. And the Ralorian Federation has a policy of non-interference. Self-preservation, Tahoe corrected. We maintain a buffer zone of neutral systems between our territories and theirs. It's kept peace for nearly a century. Until now, Dohan observed. Until they set their sights on human space, yes. Doan tapped a sequence on his tablet. A 3-dimensional map appeared above the table, showing the position of human colonies in relation to approaching Sea-Thuran forces. They'll reach New Horizon in approximately 43 days, Doyen said. Our most distant colony, 2,000 settlers, mostly scientists and miners. You cannot defend it, Tahoe said gently. The Sith-Thurans will interpret any military response as aggression against their empire. They'll escalate immediately. Doan's expression remained calm. What would you do, Commander Kim, if these were your people? The question caught Tahoe off guard. I would follow council wisdom, surrender the outlying territory to preserve the core worlds. Abandon our people to slavery or worse. Evacuate them if possible. The Sea-Thurans sometimes allow civilian withdrawals before they claim a system. Du stood and walked to a wall that slid open at his approach. Behind it was a larger operations center, 3 times the size of the meeting room. Here, military personnel worked at stations, monitoring something Tahoe couldn't immediately identify. Come with me, Diane said. They entered an elevator that descended deep into Earth's crust. When the doors opened, Tahoe found himself in an enormous cavern. Before him stretched an underground lake, and on that lake floated a partial spacecraft unlike any he had seen in human space. Its hull was dark, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Workers swarmed over it like insects, welding, testing, assembling. Project Thunderchild, Dohan said quietly. Our answer to the S-Thuran threat. Tahoe stared in disbelief. This is not possible. Your technology level was assessed based on what we allowed to be seen, Doyen finished. We've been aware of other space-faring races for decades, Commander. Your Federation isn't as subtle in its observations as it believes. The revelation stunned Tahoe. His people had been watching Earth for nearly 60 years, collecting data, assessing development. The humans had known all along. This vessel, Tahoe began, studying its unusual configuration. The power requirements alone would exceed anything your civilization could generate. Doyen smiled. 6 months ago, yes, but we're fast learners, Commander. Your faster-than-light drive provided interesting insights. You've been reverse engineering our technology. Improving it, Du corrected. Your designs are elegant but conservative. We took a different approach. Tahoe watched as a massive component was lowered into the vessel's central cavity. The workers cleared the area quickly, and protective shields rose around the installation zone. "What is that?" he asked. "The core, a combination of antimatter containment and fusion reactor." Tahoe turned to Doyen in alarm. "That's theoretically impossible, the energies would." "Theoretically, yes," Doyen agreed, "but theory has limitations. We prefer practical solutions." Later that evening, TJO sat in his quarters at the human diplomatic compound, composing his report to the Federation Council. His hands hesitated over the interface. Should he tell them everything? The humans were building something that violated fundamental engineering principles as understood by Ralorian science. If it worked, his communication device chimed. Admiral Sunmu's stern face appeared on the screen. "Commander Kim, the Council has reached a decision regarding the human request for assistance." "I'm listening, Admiral." "We will offer humanitarian aid only, evacuation ships for their colony world. No military support." Tahoe nodded. It was what he expected. "I'll inform Minister Doyen." "There's more," Sunmu continued. "The Council wishes to understand human military development better. You are authorized to share limited tactical information about Scytheran capabilities. Perhaps it will convince them to surrender their outer colonies without resistance." "And if they refuse?" Sunu's expression darkened. "Then they will learn why no one opposes the Scytherans. Make this clear to them, Commander." The transmission ended. Tahoe sat in silence for several minutes. Then he deleted the draft of his report. Instead, he composed a new message marked Priority 1. Request permission to join human defense planning sessions as military advisor. Believe there is valuable intelligence to be gathered regarding Scytheran weaknesses. 3 weeks later, Tahoe stood in the observation center at Luna Base, watching as the partially completed Thunderchild was moved from Earth to the Moon's shipyard. The massive craft moved with surprising grace despite being only 60% complete. "Impressive," noted Ju, who had recently joined him as a scientific liaison. "But will it be ready in time?" "The humans have accelerated production," Tahoe replied. "They've cannibalized 3 colony ships for parts." "The Federation evacuation fleet arrives tomorrow," Ju said. "The Council expects the humans to begin withdrawing from New Horizon immediately." Tahoe said nothing. He had attended enough human military planning sessions to know they had no intention of abandoning their colony. Instead, they were rushing to complete their experimental warship. Captain Gina Park entered the observation center. She now wore the uniform of the human space force with the insignia of a battalion commander. "Your evacuation ships are welcome," she said without preamble. "They'll help transport civilians to safety." "All civilians?" Tahoe asked carefully. Gina's eyes met his. "Those who wish to leave." "And the others?" "Will be defended," she stated simply. Ju's tendrils twitched nervously. "The Scytherans will arrive with overwhelming force. Your defense satellites cannot possibly." "We're not relying on defense satellites," Gina interrupted. "Thunderchild will be operational in 12 days. "That's impossible," Ju protested. "The core integration alone requires at least 30 days of testing." "We don't have 30 days," Gina replied, "so we'll make do with 12. As Gina left, Ju turned to Tahoe in disbelief. "They're going to fight with an untested ship against the most powerful military force in the quadrant." Tahoe watched the Thunderchild's massive form as it was guided into the lunar construction dock. "Yes," he said quietly, "that's exactly what they're going to do." And despite everything he knew about Scytheran power, despite the Federation's careful calculations and strategic retreats over decades, Tahoe felt something unexpected stirring within him. Hope. The colony world of New Horizon burned. Scytheran warships, massive, bristling with weapons, orbited the planet, methodically destroying defensive installations. From the observation deck of his science vessel, TJO watched with Ju and Minuk, maintaining their position at the edge of the system per Federation orders. Observe, record, do not engage. "The humans are evacuating civilians," noted Ju. but their military vessels are no match for Sea-Thuran destroyers. Miniuk's scales darkened with distress. This will be over quickly. A proximity alert sounded. Tahoe turned to the sensor display, then froze. What is that? Space itself seemed to fold, a massive distortion spreading across the stars. From this ripple emerged a vessel that defied comprehension. It dwarfed the Scytheran flagship, its hull gleaming with an alloy the sensors couldn't identify. The HSS Thunderchild, came a familiar voice over their comm system, Captain Gina Park, now wearing the uniform of the human Space Force. I believe you gentlemen wanted to see our approach to faster-than-light travel. The human warship moved with impossible grace for its size, positioning itself between the colony and the Esthurian fleet. Weapon ports opened along its flanks, dozens, then hundreds. Their power core, whispered Ju, staring at her readings. It's generating energy at levels that should tear the ship apart. They've combined antimatter and fusion, Minhuk realized. The technologies are fundamentally incompatible, Tahoe finished. For us, not for them. Tahoe gripped the edge of the console as the Ralorian science vessel's computer struggled to analyze the human warship. Warning symbols flashed across the screen. Unknown alloys, impossible power readings, weapon systems unlike anything in the Federation database. Recording everything, Minhuk said, his voice tight with tension. The Council won't believe this without evidence. On the main view screen, the Scytheran fleet reacted to the sudden arrival. Their formation tightened, destroyers moving to protect the flagship. Green targeting beams lanced out, scanning the Thunderchild. They're assessing the threat, Tahoe observed. The comm system crackled. A new voice, harsh, mechanical, filled the observation deck. Unknown vessel, you have entered Esthurian-claimed space. Power down weapons and prepare to be boarded or face immediate destruction. Gina's reply was calm, almost casual. This is Captain Gina Park of the human Space Force vessel Thunderchild. You are attacking a human colony world. Withdraw your forces immediately. A laugh, cold and artificial, answered her. Human, your species is not recognized as having valid territorial claims. Your technology is primitive. Your resistance is futile. About that, Gina replied, I think you might want to update your information. The Thunderchild's weapons ports glowed with blue energy. Tahoe had never seen weapons with that signature before. They're going to attack, Ju said in disbelief. One ship against the entire Scytheran fleet, they'll be destroyed. Minhuk agreed. The lead Scytheran destroyer fired first, a barrage of energy torpedoes designed to overwhelm shields through sheer volume. The projectiles streaked toward the Thunderchild, leaving ionized trails in the vacuum. Shields at maximum, Ju reported automatically, though she was monitoring the human ship, not their own. What happened next stunned all three Ralorans into silence. The Thunderchild didn't evade. It didn't raise conventional shields. Instead, the space around the vessel seemed to warp slightly. The torpedoes, moments before impact, simply disappeared. Did they absorb the attack? Minhuk whispered. Tahoe studied the readings. No, something more complex. They've created some kind of spatial fold. The weapons entered but never exited normal space. The Esthurian fleet paused its assault, clearly as surprised as the Ralorans. Then, with mechanical precision, 3 more destroyers moved forward, charging their main guns. Incoming transmission from the Thunderchild, Ju reported. Gina's face appeared on screen. She looked calm, focused. Commander Kim, I suggest you move your vessel back another 1,000 kilometers. Things are about to get interesting. Captain Park, Tahoe replied, the Scythian fleet includes 7 capital ships. They could destroy a small moon. You cannot possibly. We've studied your data on Sea-Thuran capabilities, Gina interrupted. Very thoroughly. Thank you for that, by the way. She smiled slightly. Now please move to a safe distance. The transmission cut. Tahoe hesitated only briefly before ordering their vessel to retreat. The Council ordered us to observe, he reminded his officers when they looked uncertain. We can observe from a safer distance. Minhuk agreed quickly. As their ship pulled back, the Scytheran destroyers fired again. This time, their main cannons released sustained energy beams powerful enough to cut through planetary crusts. The Thunderchild responded. From 100 points along its hull, blue-white beams lanced out. They didn't target the S-Thuran ships directly. Instead, they intersected with the incoming attack beams. Where they met, expanding spheres of distorted space formed, containing and nullifying the S-Thurian energy. Defensive counterfire, Ju breathed. I've never seen anything like it. They're not just stopping the attacks, Teo realized. They're harvesting the energy somehow. The Thunderchild's hull began to glow slightly, power readings spiking even higher than before. Incoming transmission from the S-Thuran flagship, Miniac reported. A new face appeared on screen. Unlike the destroyer commanders, this was a high-ranking Scytheran, metallic skin with embedded data nodes, eyes that glowed with artificial enhancement. I am Fleet Commander Gra, the being announced. Identify yourselves, Raelian vessel. Why do you observe this conflict? We are a science vessel, Teo replied cautiously. We monitor significant events in this sector. Gra's mechanical eyes narrowed. You have knowledge of this human vessel. You have aided them. We have provided no military assistance, Tahoe stated truthfully. We are here only to observe. Then observe the consequences of interference in Scytheran expansion, Gra snarled. The screen went dark. Moments later, the entire Scytheran fleet moved into attack formation. All 7 capital ships, plus their destroyer escorts, oriented toward the solitary human vessel. They're going to unleash everything, Ju said, her voice quavering. The S-Thuran attack, when it came, was overwhelming. Hundreds of energy projectiles, dozens of beam weapons, missiles, and torpedoes, all launched simultaneously in a display of firepower that had conquered worlds throughout the sector. Tahoe couldn't look away. He expected the human vessel to be obliterated instantly. Instead, the Thunderchild seemed to shimmer, the space around it distorted as if reality itself bent to the ship's will. The Scytheran weapons, every single one, were caught in these distortions, their energy redirected, absorbed, or simply negated. Impossible, Minio whispered. When the barrage ended, the Thunderchild remained completely undamaged. Its hull now pulsed with captured energy. Weapon ports that had glowed blue now shone with blinding white intensity. The humans have weaponized spacetime itself, Ju realized, her scientific mind pushing through her shock. They're using principles we theorized but never implemented. The spatial folding technology we use for FTL travel, they've adapted it for both defense and offense. Tahoe nodded slowly. They saw possibilities we overlooked or deemed too dangerous to explore. On the view screen, the Thunderchild began to move again, accelerating toward the S-Thuran fleet. It didn't fire, not yet. It simply advanced, inexorable and threatening. New communication channels opened across all frequencies. Gina's voice rang clear. Scytheran forces, you have witnessed a fraction of our capabilities. You have 2 options. Withdraw from human space immediately or face the consequences. A burst of angry Scytheran language answered her, though the translation system struggled. The meaning was clear: defiance, threats, refusal. Gina's reply was simple: very well. The Thunderchild fired, not the hundreds of smaller weapons along its flanks, but a single massive beam from its prow. The energy signature was unlike anything in Ralorian records, not plasma, not laser, not particle beam. It struck the nearest Scytheran destroyer. The vessel didn't explode. It didn't break apart. It simply ceased to exist, leaving behind only a cloud of component atomic particles. They've weaponized their FTL system, Tahoe said quietly. They're breaking down matter at the subatomic level. The S-Thurian fleet, for the first time in recorded history, began to retreat. Their movements were no longer coordinated but chaotic, each ship seeking escape. The comm system activated again. Gina's face appeared, her expression solemn rather than triumphant. Commander Kim, please inform your Federation Council that human space is now secure. We would welcome diplomatic discussions about mutual defense against future S-Thurian aggression. Tejo stared at the screen, then at the Thunderchild, a vessel that had just rewritten the power balance of the entire sector in a matter of minutes. Humans had done what the Federation had deemed impossible for centuries. "We will relay your message, Captain Park," he replied formally. Then, dropping protocol, he added, "And Gina, that was quite the unveiling." Her serious expression broke into a small smile. "We told you our approach to faster-than-light travel was different." The Esthurian response was immediate and predictable. Their lead vessels launched energy projectiles designed to overwhelm enemy shields through sheer volume of fire. The Thunderchild didn't evade. Instead, its shield envelope shimmered, absorbing the first barrage entirely. "They're using the attack to calibrate their defenses," Minhuk realized, learning from each hit. The human warship's counterattack was surgical. Point defense systems eliminated incoming missiles while precision beam weapons disabled Scytheran engines and weapon arrays, not destroying, incapacitating. "Unusual tactics," noted Tahoe. "They're minimizing casualties." The Esthurian admiral, enraged by this resistance, committed his flagship to the battle, a massive dreadnought that had conquered a dozen worlds. "We're detecting anomalies in the Thunderchild's lower hull,"